Hello, everybody. I'm Ulf. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today. A great chance for me, and I'm very happy about that, to talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about. I will talk about a topic about behavioral change, and I will pick out some aspects, some very specific aspects, which you can take something away from it. So, the topic today is progress, and beware of the chair. The chair. You all got up already, so you moved up off your chair. But beware of a chair is a very simple rule that is borrowed from sports, which helps to achieve progress over time, both in organizational contexts as well in the private context or in sporting activities. So, you know, I'm a management consultant for 17 years now, and I'm also a marathon runner for 22 years. I completed the London Marathon 22 consecutive times. And what I figured out in the time, in running and in working, occupies a lot of my time. So I figured out that running an organization and running a marathon is really very similar, because both activities require relentless forward progress. Let me give you an example. Organizations need to develop constantly. They want to churn out new products. They want to stay ahead of the competition and want to stay relevant. We heard that in the first presentation already. So I recently found my 2007 first edition iPhone. I think it's called 2G, and it still works. And it's a very beautiful product. Some guy told me I should keep it in the safe now. However, we all want to have the new iPhones. We all want to have the new features. So we all wire towards progress. Progress is not like an option. We go for that. The same is in running. If you don't move forward constantly, you don't arrive at the finish line. You become something like DNF, did not finish. And that is not a good thing to do. So, we're here in a university. I had two professors speaking prior to me, so I thought it's okay to bring like a construct, like a research construct to show you. Basically, we do have a starting point, which is like an ambition. You can call it an idea. You can also call it a dream. And you have a result, which is the progress, which is the result and the reality, what you achieve out of your ambition. And what comes in between is the leap of faith and getting out of the door. And that is very important. It's about taking action. Taking action is in between. And activities in the organizational context, as well as in sports, depends on whether you get initially started, whether you do like the leap of faith. And then it's very important to get out of the door every day to continue that. That is like pursue your ambition every day to arrive there or to realize it. Beware of the chair refers to the stickiness that makes people hesitant to say, I lean back, I'm not sure whether to do it, and they take a passive stand. So that is, it actually prohibits, it stops the progress, and it stops taking action. I will show you how. Taking the leap, the leap of faith, is something you dare to attempt something which is has unexpected or uncertain outcomes, and it's also very important to take it early on. We saw in the presentations before that if you venture into new technologies like new energy vehicles and so on, and learning, you need to really be bold. You need to do the leap of faith in order and you need to do that early on, otherwise somebody else is defining your business models. In running, it's, for me, the same thing, because I started relatively early, and I'm sure if I wouldn't have done the leap of faith in the beginning, I never have done it that I never would have done it probably, because once I entered my job, the whole time was consumed with working and so on. So I wouldn't do the leap of faith. And if you ask runners, subscribing to your first marathon is really like a very bold commitment. So nobody of them know whether they really can cover the distance. You really need to be quite brave to do it. So, even more important than the leap of faith is getting out of the door, which is putting the work in, sweating the small stuff day in and day out. So for organizations, in order to develop them further, they need to change the behaviors of their employees, of their managers, on a daily basis. For example, if they want to get more agile, they need to collaborate in a more dynamic way, and they need to do decisions faster. They also need to be more risky and allow failure. And they need to really lead by example. In order to do that, in an organization, managers and employees need to step out of the comfort zone. They need to get out of the door and actually realize the change and the progress. And if they just sit back in their chairs, nothing will happen. No. The same is in running. If you subscribe for a marathon, you say, okay, I'm brave enough, I'll do that, and you plan to do 1 hour of training every day. That is like a very, very minimum to do it. It sounds, okay, that should be possible, I can do that. However, that's only in theory. In practice, it becomes quite difficult to do that. Because the moment you come home after work in the evening becomes very crucial. Because we find a lot of reasons not to do it. And beware of the chair means don't sit on the couch. You can do anything. You can eat something, you can write something, you can read something, communicate. But if you don't, as long as you don't sit on the couch, your commitment stays intact and you go out to the gym or you go out for a run. You can think of it, of this principle, as a workaround solution. You don't need to occupy your mind the whole day saying, oh, I need to do, I want to do that. And you feel guilty if you don't do it. You can just relax and say, I focus on these occasions. I don't sit on the couch, and then my commitment, and I will do it. So it's a really, it doesn't require this much of a discipline. A lot of people ask me that. How much discipline, how much work ethic does it require? Of course it does, but you can make your life easier just to focus on the occasions that derail your plans. All right, once you get out of the door, it's not a walk in the park, that's for sure. You need to put in the work. Like the organizations, they really need to dig deep to transform themselves. We see that in a lot of industries, they really need to reinvent themselves. And these companies have bad weather as well. They have it's cold in there because they have resistance from employees and uncertainty they need to manage. The same is in running, because if you the major chunk of the training is done in winter, basically, and these are snapshots of my training. It's sometimes cold, it's sometimes icy, it's windy. But you need to put in the work in the winter in order to be ready, and London is in April, so it's a spring thing to do that. The trick to get out of the door and really do the work out there is something to adopt a certain mindset. So you need to adopt this training thing as your lifestyle, like a running lifestyle. Or you need to change your attitude towards that. And companies can learn from that, because if companies consider the change they are going through as a business as usual, not like a one-time thing, but business as usual as their new modus operandi, the whole change, the whole disruption, the whole transformation is not that of a big deal. And the same is in running. For example, if you adopt like a non-excuse policy, you say, I get out of the door no matter what for example, the weather looks like. It's you adopt a different mindset to doing it, and by embracing this kind of change, it becomes like your own choice, and therefore it's not imposed upon you. And that's a big thing in order to get the work. So once you've done the training, you can have the results. So this is like the celebration of running, like the medals and the crowd and the atmosphere. It's really about celebration. It's really about soaking up the positive energy. And this is the same in organization. If you achieve good results, record-breaking numbers, you really need to share that with your employees, with the whole stakeholders, because that gives you motivation for a very long time to come. However, this race is very exciting, but it cannot be the trigger. Like the outstanding results, they cannot be the trigger. The important thing is that you focus on this training and the work and the change which goes into that, because otherwise you don't have that either. I brought some figures, but only to show you it's not so much about the medal. You saw the medals, and and it's not about the time. It's about towing the line, which means you arrive at the starting line, you take part. Because it's very different to run one outstanding performance and then never again. This is more about performance over time, and that is the same topic with organizations. If you wonder, this looks a little bit like the stock price the share price of a company over some years. It's really very similar. And indeed, for companies to stay relevant over time, they need to train hard, train their employees and reinvent, and they need to perform. They need to demonstrate that they have a good stamina, year in and year out. And the companies who achieve that, and that is like a change curve here, the companies who achieve that in mobilizing their employees to go with the change, to do the work, to do the transformation, there will be the ones who are in the game very, very long time. I mapped the chairs which exist in the running environment on the change curve of an organization or transformation. And it's very important for companies to identify when their changes are derailing. And there are small situations where they should not sit on the chair, where they should walk the talk, they stand up and speak out. However, identifying these occasions is not enough as well, because it's very easy, and that is it's very obvious in running, to flip back in your old habits. You go back on the couch, you do the Netflix and everything else. So flipping back to old habits exists in the companies as well. And therefore, it's very important to have a change in mindset. And that brings about long-term progress. Without the change in mindset, there's no long-term progress. In summary, organizational development, organizational change is very similar from my perspective to running. It does not matter so much the discipline and the work ethic. It's more about identifying what are the drivers and what are the barriers to our behavioral change, like be aware of the chair. And it's about bringing about a shift in mindset in order to consider the change, to adopt the change, some kind as a lifestyle. So I think this shift in mindset may well be the art of progress. Thank you very much.